I've had a ton of people ask me why on earth I bought a Saab, of all things. You know, because somebody goes out and says, I want a car. You know, you're there thinking, oh my goodness, they want either just a dirt cheap car like a Toyota Corolla, they want a car reliable or anything like that. Toyota Corolla, Honda Civic, they love those kinds of cars. Somebody says, okay, well, I want a fast car. I go out and you have two different crowds. You have the import crowd that either likes a really fast Japanese car, or you got the German crowd, the Euro crowd, which loves a fast BMW like an M5, an M3 or something like that, or a Mercedes. Then you've got the crowd that's like, you know, I gotta haul the kids around. So those people either get a minivan or an SUV or even you know, a gigantic 15-passenger van. Then you've got the group that loves hypermiling, so they get a Prius or a Tesla because they don't want to spend money on gas at all, but they have money to blow otherwise. So you got all these different kinds of people. It takes a weird kind of person to say, I want a Saab. Well, I'm one of those weird people. And right now, you're currently riding in my 1988 Saab 900 SPG. It's, well, I can't say all original. It's not all original. It was really heavily done up and fixed and modified by the owner I bought it from, but it's been the best car I've ever owned. So if you look at it right now, it's got lovely actual sheepskin covers that are original accessories and a bunch of other things, and it's my daily driver. So yeah, if you look in the very back right there, you can see some crap piled up, some jumper cables, a few receipts, and a few other things. The story of this car started in September of 2015 when me and some friends were originally going to be going to California. I live in Utah, and so we were just going to do this trip and go up the Pacific Coast Highway and have a grand old time. That fell through due to one reason or another. One friend because of work, other friend because of school. Just didn't happen. And I had wanted, at this point, one of these Saabs for quite a while. I loved them. I had a friend that had several in high school, and they're just fun little cars, and I had driven one before. I happened to be browsing the internet, as one does, and find this car on a Saab-specific internet page called Saabnet, and went to the classifieds, and lo and behold, it was a Saab 900 SPG, which stands for Special Performance Group, for sale in Boston, Massachusetts for $2,800. It had his phone number listed. The guy's name was Nate. This was on a Saturday evening, so I called Nate and had a grand old time talking for about an hour and a half about everything to do with the car. Towards the end, I was like, you know, Nate, you've really convinced me. Let me check some plane tickets, do a couple other things, let me see if I can do it. Less than 24 hours later, I had plane tickets. I had already taken the time off work because I was planning on doing a trip anyways. And on Monday, I went from my apartment over to my parents' house, and around dinner said, hey, guess what? I'm flying up to Boston to buy a car. To which they shook their heads. Of course, I don't blame them. So that whole week I was really anxious and flew out on Saturday morning at 6 a.m. to get to Boston. I had a connecting flight. I went to Dallas first, got a connecting flight to Boston. I arrived there at 4 p.m., got a bus over to his house, and got to his house at around 5. He met me at the bus station, and then it was a 20-minute drive or so. So we got to his house, looked all over the car. He had a mountain of receipts, which I still have, of everything he's done and the previous owners. He had owned it for 14 years, and it was just amazing. Really, the only reason this car was so cheap was because of the fact that the odometer didn't work. It had been stuck at 179,000 since 2001 when the guy I bought it from had purchased the car. And so it was quite A lot of people didn't like that. So therefore, he was trying to get a very cheap price out of it. Now, with this car, I got about $2,000 worth of new in-box spare parts. I got all the stuff he'd already put on the car, between adjustable shocks, stainless steel brake lines, a redone head, and many other things. I got the original wheels as well. I got spare master cylinders, coolant, anything you can think of. I basically had a spare of it. And this bargain cost me only $2,800. Now, the trip also added about $1,200 onto that price tag. That's just, you know, how it worked out between everything. So on this massive road trip, I got started, and initially in the car was doing some funky things, so I pulled over. I got to my stop in DC, and I drove straight through the night for that. So I left the house at 8 o'clock at night and arrived in DC at 6 a.m. Now, what it was doing was, anytime I would go up any kind of an incline or really have to push the car much more than normal, it would start sputtering, and so I thought there was a major problem. Come to find out, all that had happened was the pressure release valve, aka the bypass valve, as Saab calls it, from the turbo, had literally fallen out. The clamps had just loosened and it had fallen out. Put that back in, car was golden for the rest of the trip, never had an issue. So in the end, I visited DC for 2 days, North Carolina, because I know some people there, for 3 days, Nashville, St. Louis, Kansas City, Lincoln, Nebraska, and a few other places along my journey home to Utah over the course of the next week and a half. I put 3,600 miles on the car during that week and a half, and it never missed a beat. Since then, again, I can only guesstimate, between keeping track of my GPS and other methods, I have put about 15,000 on the car in the year and 4 months that I have owned it. The car has only let me down twice. Once was for a dead battery. Not the car's fault, it was just an old battery. The second time was for a very small ground cable that goes from the alternator to the block for ground. It was just old and had corroded away. And third was for a set of tires. So the total operating cost of this car over a year and nearly 20,000 miles has been $550, give or take. Next to nothing when you compare it to any other 25-year-old, or 27-year-old car. My math's not correct, I'm sorry, 29-year-old. I'm really not doing very good tonight. Anyways, the best we can guesstimate, this car has right around 300,000 miles, is most likely what I believe. It gets me from point A to point B, never fails, and I've literally just been doing small mods here and there. If you look in the back, at the back window, you can see the louvers. I put those on, I put a roof rack on, and a few other things, but for the most part, this car came set up the way it was. And I realized that these cars are some of the most useful cars in the world. Now, people don't like the fact that the car is kind of odd. Well, the car's odd because Saab wasn't trying to market it towards any one specific group of people, really. They ended up being bought primarily by teachers and architects and other people that generally had a college education and were very smart. Reason being is the car is so well-rounded. It is a jack of all trades in every single sense of the word. Even mine being on its lowered suspension and stiff shocks and very stiff tires, it still rides fairly well as long as you're not going through potholes. It's very roomy in here. This car originally had AC, although it was deleted. Heated seats, heated mirrors. It's got almost every option you could think of, and when you put that rear seat down with the hatchback, you've got enough room to fit a washer and a dryer, plus extra stuff in there. Even with all the spare parts I brought and a full set of spare wheels, I still had more than enough room. Not to mention, this car is also relatively quick. It's 0 to 60 in, I haven't exactly timed this one, but between 5.5 and 6 seconds with the small modifications done. Stock was 6.5 to 7. And it got good gas mileage. This one, if I'm going around town, I really will only get 19. It's not that great. But on the freeway, if I am strictly doing freeway driving, I can muster 30 miles a gallon. It also has a decent sized tank, being 16 gallons, so you have quite a lot of range. Despite the fact it's a two-door, it's very easy to get in and out of. Even with kids and whatnot, I've had my siblings in the back several times, one of which is in a car seat. Was not hard to get him in and out. This car is very easy to service. People will tell you it's not. People will tell you it's expensive. Do not listen to them. This car, even with having as many miles as it does and being the weird angle that it is, and I'll show you that in a little bit, it's really relatively easy to get to everything because Saab wanted to design it that way. It's very simplified. So the engine is slanted at a 45 degrees towards the passenger side, and it's backwards. So all the drive belts for the accessories and everything are right up against the firewall. And then it has a clutch that's right up next to the radiator that goes to a chain drive that goes to the transmission, which is underneath the engine. Sounds terrible to work on. It's actually not. In about an hour, you can have this engine out. Not only that, but every part is pretty easily accessible. Even an exhaust manifold gasket, even though the exhaust manifold is tucked clear down on the passenger side, since the engine's at a 45-degree angle, was not hard to get to. So I've convinced 5 other people over the course of owning this car in the past year to buy these. Every single one of those people has fallen in love with it. They're very unique, stylish, cheap to own and maintain, and nobody else has them. They're useful, practical is a better word. They get from point A to point B almost no matter what, even if you do have problems, and any problems they do have can be rectified. The final wonderful point of this video is the fact that this car has, and any Saab, has a very devout community, different than any other I've ever seen. I've been in the Audi community for a while, which is a great community. I'm not dissing on them, but they don't have anything on the Saab community. The Saab community is completely devoted to cars. There's quite a few people that followed my trip on a couple of the pages from Boston, and all of those people, it was probably, I think, every time I'd post, it'd say, I had a view of several hundred following this. And everyone would say, hey, if you're passing through here and you happen to have a breakdown, let me know and I'll help you right back on the road free of charge. And those were shop owners too, people that actually owned shops and were businessmen, so they obviously need the money. But they were willing to give that up just because they loved the fact that somebody who was younger was going to get these cars and keep them running. And the community will give you cheap prices on almost anything. Advice is free to be given. There's a lot of originalists and purists, which are perfectly fine, that love to make sure that any part that goes onto their Saab is a genuine Saab part, which is great, and it can help you source those. There's shops, there are not very many, but there are shops scattered across the country that are specifically devoted to these older Saabs. And so pretty much no matter where you are in the United States, you can find a shop that will help you service your car. You know, really, that's kind of in a nutshell why I like it. If you had to boil it down to 3 points, it's practicality and durability, the uniqueness of owning a Saab, and the community behind them. Really, between those 3 items, it really helps to maintain a really good driving experience. You know, and so in the future, I'd hope that, you know, anybody that ends up watching this video would go out and think about buying one of these cars, because they are so good and they need to be saved. And even ones that have been neglected can be brought back to full health really easy and cheaply. That being said, I hope that everybody has a good time. And I hope this kind of brought to light why I would go buy some weird, quirky Swedish car and daily drive it. And so just like that, you'll have a good time. And I hope that all your drives will be safe and well. See ya.